Hi, I'm from the New Zealand government and I've come around to ask you a few questions. Okay, cool. First of all, what makes you think you can create the Te Moana Nui Kiwa Embassy and what makes you think you could be an ambassador? Okay, I'll explain it to you. Because according to the United Nations Declaration of Rights of the Indigenous Peoples, Article 8, Section 1, Indigenous peoples and individuals have the right not to be subjected to forced assimilation or destruction of their culture. And number 2, states shall provide effective mechanisms for prevention of and redress for A, any action which has the aim or effect of depriving them of their integrity as distinct peoples, or of their cultural values, or ethnic identities. B, any action which has the aim or effect of dispossessing them of their lands, territories, or resources. C, any form of forced population transfer which may aim or effect of violating or undermining any of their rights. D, any form of forced assimilation or integration. E, any form of propaganda designed to promote or incite racial or ethnic discrimination against them. And Article 9, Indigenous peoples and individuals have the right to belong to an Indigenous community or nation in accordance with their traditions and customs of the community or nation concerned. No discrimination of any kind may arise from the exercise of this right. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm exercising my right and to be an ambassador because I come from the Temu Anunnaki-wa ambassador. I come from the Koyanaki. I come from the Hinikorako. I come from the Ariki Nui. I come from the Rongokaku. I come from the Hawaii. And so nobody can stop me because I'm allowed to do this. So if you're a school teacher or a news reporter or if you work for the New Zealand government, then that's just a fact that you've got to let me do my job because it's part of my heritage. I come from the Wairoa. Wairoa is where the wise people come from. I come from the Tohunga. I come from the Timu. And so that's kind of cool. And that's why I can win in court, because there's lots of things that I use that protect us as a collective of Native and Indigenous peoples. Pākehā buddies and people born here are called natives, and they're allowed to participate in the largest diplomatic mission in modern history as well. And I'm Indigenous because my tūpuna and my ancestors were here before the waka. And the waka arrivals. Yeah, so there's all these rules and things that the governments have to abide by. For example, the Te Tiriti o Waitangi. Now that's in force and the government is bound as the sending state, as the successor state, to uphold the terms and conditions in the Te Tiriti o Waitangi. And the Te Tiriti o Waitangi states that the Wakamingi o na Hapu is the authoritative body, and Te Moana Nui Kiwa Embassy is the official registry for the Wakamingi o na Hapu, because the people who are in a hapu have the right to choose who they would like to protect them. And we have thousands of people all around Te Ika Maui and Te Waka Maui and Te Moana Nui Kiwa who identify as Wakamingi o na Hapu. hapu authorities, and that's cool, and we take note of that, and we keep a record of those people, and that's called a registry, and we're a protectorate, so their information is safe with us because that is our job. That's what an embassy does. We protect people.
Okay, sorry, I've got to go. I'm really busy. Yeah, thanks for that chat.
Cool, no worries. Come back next time if you've got questions. Because these kinds of things need to be talked about. If we talk about the elephant in the room, maybe the elephant won't be so cross anymore. Yippee! So when you're watching my videos, get a pen and a paper and make a note of all of the international treaties and conventions that I talk about. Write them down and then go to your computer and look them up, then print them out. And when you having a conversation with a police person, then you can show them the international treaties that says that we're allowed to do this as a collective of native and indigenous peoples. And even people who are born overseas are allowed to participate in the largest diplomatic mission in modern history. They're allowed to participate as supporters of us. And it's okay to support diplomatic missions, and it's okay to want to support world peace. Of Rights of Indigenous Peoples. Look that up. Go straight to the United Nations website and look that up. Do not refer to He Papua because that's a secondary document. When referring to law, always refer to the source document. Okay, because He Papua has no standing because it was created by a government think tank, and a government think tank has no right to represent the Indigenous people. We have a right to be autonomous. Autonomous means separate from the New Zealand government. Anyone who's representing the New Zealand government has no right to interfere with us in Te Moana Nui Kiwa. We're a separate nation. We're a nation of islands. And as long as we're abiding in tikanga, and that's a form of common law, as long as we're being decent, abiding by common law and tikanga, then the New Zealand government departments have no right to interfere with us. They have no right to interfere with our diplomatic mission participants, whether they're native, which means born here, or Indigenous, which means that their ancestors were here a long time ago, all the way back. Now, or whether they're from overseas and they're supporting us as an international supporter, and it's okay to support diplomatic missions. The other thing which I think is really important for everybody to look up is, please look up the Indigenous text of the Te Tiriti o Waitangi. Now, in the Indigenous text, in accordance to international law, the Indigenous text always takes precedence over the other texts from the other countries. So it states that the Wakamingo Hapu is the governing body, and it's really, really important that we can identify as that, and each Hapu territory has their own jurisdictions as well. But because Helen Winkleman, the current High Chief Justice of New Zealand, because she recognises Te Moana Nui Kiwa jurisdiction, I think it's really cool if we all jump into that. Because people who reside here who are from other countries, technically, they are residing on one of the islands of Te Moana Nui Kiwa. They either reside on Te Ika a Maui, which is the native way of saying the North Island, or they either reside on Te Waka a Maui, which is the way of saying the South Island. Now, residents who reside here have a right to support us. They have a right to support us as Indigenous and Native peoples, and I think that the New Zealand police, they should stop trying to interfere with us, because they're actually bound by a contract, and that contract is that they can only police by consent. And I believe if there's enough of us that are feeling very cross with the New Zealand police, that they might have to go away and we could replace them with a better entity. And so that's the reality. We're not causing any harm. And often a lot of people ring up and complain and blame us for what the police are doing. Well, it's not us arresting or hurting people, is it? It's the New Zealand Police. I think we need to start identifying where the problems are being sourced from. Now, according to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, 1948, I hope you have a pen and paper or a crayon, and you can just basically write this down. UDHR 1948. Now you go into your computer, and if you can Google that and go to Article 13, number 1, it says everyone has the right to freedom of movement and residence within the borders of each state. And that means that if people are getting arrested from leaving one area, say for example leaving Auckland, and going to another area, say for example going to Wellington, then nobody has the right to interfere with those people for moving freely, particularly if they have one of the flag documents, which is on our sea passes. They're allowed to move around. If they're not committing a crime, they're allowed to move around. Number 2, everyone has the right to leave any country, including his own, and to return to his own country. So that can apply to all humans. All humans are equal. Indigenous, Native, all of us, we're all equal. And it's about time that people start realising that. I do think the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights is really cool because it includes everyone. Please look it up. Article 14, number 1, everyone has the right to seek and enjoy in other countries asylum from persecution. That means that if somebody's getting persecuted for no reason at all, that they have a right to seek in Te Moananui, especially if the New Zealand government is picking on them. Okay, yes, so please go to the computer after we have this little chat in this video and do a bit of research. Print out these things. These are very important because right now the New Zealand Police, they're violating a lot of our human rights, and they're getting instructions from one particular person in the Māori authorities, and that is Nanaia Mahuta. And Nanaia Mahuta, she was an unelected minister. She became the Foreign Affairs Minister, and the Foreign Affairs Minister apparently dictates who has the diplomatic privileges and immunities. But unfortunately for Nanaia Mahuta, the Te Moananui authorities, the native people from Hawaii, from Te Moananui, from the Wakamingi o Ngā Hapu, we disqualified Nanaia Mahuta last year when we moved and passed a protectorate law called Kupapa Suppression Action 2020. So please go to the Māori Ranger Security Division page, look at the Kupapa Suppression Action 2020, and you'll see that because it basically means that traitors who sell out, and Nanaia Mahuta is a traitor. She sold at the seabed and foreshore, or voted to sell the seabed and foreshore in 2004. Because she did that, the native indigenous peoples were very offended by her. There was big protests all up and down our islands because of what she did. And the reason why we were so cross is when she sold the seabed and foreshore, or voted to sell, that allowed big shipping oil exploration companies to come in, and they used sonic blast explosions, and those that killed the whales and the dolphins and the creatures of the sea. And if there was mermaids, that would have killed the mermaids. So that's not very nice, and so she has no right to represent us. So there needs to be a massive review about the Diplomatic Immunity and Privileges Act 1968. According to the Vienna Convention, that's an international convention for diplomacy. Now, according to that, it states that the receiving state members can choose who's eligible for diplomatic immunity and privileges. And as the Wakamingi o Ngā Hapu official,
and Te Moananui Kiwa Embassy is the official registry for Wakamingo Ona Hapu, and Wakamingo Ona Hapu is the official authority or native authority, the receiving state members. We can decide who we want to give diplomatic immunity to, and so it's not Nanaia Mahuta. She doesn't get to decide because she represents the sending state, and that means that what's happening right now with our diplomats being arrested for whatever reason, that's completely against the law. And if, well, basically as a successor state, that means that New Zealand government is a successor state, that they came around afterwards, that they are bound by the terms and conditions in the Te Tiriti of Waitangi, and basically that they can actually lose their positions. The whole New Zealand government can crumble and be removed if they don't uphold the terms and conditions of the treaty. And so it's going to be a lot easier for everybody, and everybody's going to feel a lot happier if the New Zealand police just stop interfering with people and stop this nonsense. I believe that they're creating a big crisis scenario all the time, and that the media is helping them out a little bit, because I was interviewed by News Hub on the 8th of September 2021, and my article hasn't even been published yet. But I've noticed a lot of other ridiculous articles have been published, and some of those articles are designed to hurt us as Indigenous people, and that's actually against the law. So because we have no resources, or very little resources, and we don't receive funding, it's hard for us to go around the country protecting people and doing the court cases. So like, you've probably heard of that saying that knowledge is power, and it is. It doesn't matter how little you are, okay? It doesn't matter how little you are. If you have lots and lots and lots of knowledge, it's going to be a lot harder for people to bully you. And bullying isn't acceptable in our schools, and bullying isn't acceptable in our New Zealand police. What are you guys doing? Stop it. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed your little school lessons, kiddies. Yes, and it is quite concerning. I think that we might even need a Royal Commission inquiry into the way that our diplomatic mission participants have been treated. Yes, so please learn as much as you can. Don't just buy the card, and, you know, please learn as much as you can, and I wish there was more time in the day, because I could then do more and help more. But yes, we appreciate all of our diplomatic mission participants, because we are the largest diplomatic mission in modern history, and our goal is to achieve world peace. And there's many prophecies that says that it comes from here, and you're a part of that. So we thank you very much.